Whew, this fire deck is so hot, I need some water. Ah, that hits the spot. If you also hits the spot, hitting that subscribe button or checking out my Patreon and my merch to support the Janjo Zone further. Want to support Janjo? Get your name in videos or request content for the channel? Then check out my Patreon for exclusive perks, content, and stretch goals. So let's talk about a fire, beatdown, return deck, whatever you want to call it, a pyro deck. You never really see too many of these. I don't want to take my own crack at it because it's something I've had in the back of my mind for something I've been wanting to try out. I've had a few ideas, and I think I finally figured out something that should work. So let's get started. This is Janjo, and I'm building a deck. Yeah. Alright, so the fire, I want to call it Fire Return. I think that's the name I'm going to go with. So, yeah, you never see any fire decks. You see water, earth. We don't really see any other specific ones. Maybe a wind one in some YouTube videos. But fire is kind of that weird point because there's a lot of really good fire monsters in GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh! You got Inferno, which, if its stats were the other way around, this card would be busted. Let's see, you got Molten Zombie. You can draw a card if it's summoned from the graveyard. It's like a reverse Sacred Crane. There's a lot of great monsters in GOAT format. Let's see, you got Blazing Impachi, which is 1850, which is a pretty high attack for a fire monster. And if Witch was legal in this format, I think I would be playing something because you could search him out. Unfortunately, we won't be playing him. The main thing that I wanted to make this deck, and the reason why it is a Pyro Return deck, is that a really famous card, this one to be exact, and that is the Infernal Flame Emperor. Yeah, so this card was in the Blaze of Destruction deck. He's not particularly good, but I wanted to make a deck around him because he looks pretty sick, like Janjo. So the fact is, he cannot be special summoned, which that just outright sucks right there. Like, not even this has to be first. He just cannot be special summoned in any capacity. When he's tribute summoned, you can play up to 5 fire monsters from the graveyard, destroy number of spell and traps, equal number of monsters removed from play. Its effect. So when you summon him, you can destroy a lot of backward stuff, which is really good for attacking. Good for just going in for that damage. But the key thing is that you want to focus on is that he can remove up to play up to 5 fire monsters from your graveyard. 5 fire monsters. That's a lot of monsters you can remove. A lot of ones that just kind of sit in your graveyard. So, do what works great with that? Return from the different freaking dimension. You could run Dimension Fusion in this deck. I'm not going to run it because it's kind of out of my price range, and I want to make these decks with a price range in mind that's makes them kind of affordable. So this is what I'm going to mainly run. You could cut out some other cards if you want to throw at Dimension Fusion, but I'm going to run 3 of these. Initially I had 2, but I feel like 3 is probably the best, so you can really get your strategy out. So I wanted to make this a fire deck, kind of focus on fire monsters, not just a Bazoo aggro deck with Infernal Flame Emperor. But we are going to run Bazoo. Initially I did have 3, but I'm going to run 2 because you don't need 2 too much. You got plenty of cards that banish things. And Bazoo is still a great card for banishing and just in general for attacking over things. So you can banish a lot. I mean, hell, you can banish 1 monster and already gets up to 1900 attack, which can beat over a lot of things. Banish 2 and you can get over a Gravekeeper's Spy. It's pretty good. Some other monsters that require banishing. Spirit of the Flames. Gonna run 2 of this hot boy because you know, again, you can banish your special summon, so special summon's good. It's kind of like the Aqua Spirit, and when he attacks, he gains 300 attack during your battle phase. So again, high attack. That's good. You can banish things. I like that. So other cards we're gonna run. Run a DD, where are you? Warrior Lady. One of those because while it's not a fire, and you'll see that not all the monsters will be fire, obviously. We got Bazoo. But with DD Warrior Lady is that she can banish, and you can get rid of a lot of threats with that way, and it banishes, which works out for you. It synergizes well with this deck, so like might as well run DD Warrior Lady. This was the last card I thought about adding in. Next card was Flame something something. This guy, Flame Ruler. We're on two of him because you can actually get him out and you can tribute for Flame Emperor pretty easily because he can count for 2 tributes. His defense, it's not that bad, 1600, so you could set him if you don't want to do anything. But the main key to getting him out is UFO Turtle. You could come down to 1 if you want, but I have to, like, just in case, because we are running some other tribute monsters. This is kind of more of a tribute deck as well. But UFO Turtle can get out some fire monsters, primarily Flame Ruler, that you'll get out to get him ready for your Flame Emperor. And that's probably about the only actual target I can think for UFO Turtle. But still, I mean, things that get search out, things that can fuel up the graveyard, it's good for me. Speaking of tribute monsters, you can actually run 2 Thestalos, the Fire Monarch. You could technically run other Monarchs if you want to keep the fire count lower, but I want to keep the fire count higher. And with Thestalos, you can rip card out of your opponent's hand, which is pretty good. You just gotta watch out for chaos in that aspect. But ripping out certain cards can actually be good, especially with the extra little burn damage is never too bad. And the last one we're gonna run is Nephthys. Yeah, Nephthys. Nephthys is a great card. It's kind of like Vampire Lord in that if it's destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon it back and then destroys all spells and traps. So this actually synergizes pretty well with Flame Emperor in terms of, both being fire monsters. They both destroy spell and traps, so you can get rid of a lot of spell and traps with this. So it really kind of pushes the game plan to kind of get rid of back row and then attack. So like there is a good game plan for this. It's just a matter of really nailing down the deck ratios, testing that sort of stuff. And speaking of Nephthys, we're going to run the Hand of Nephthys, which you contribute another monster along with it, special summon it straight from the deck, which is actually really powerful. And there's actually other ways to get Hand out, the prime one being Apprentice Magician, since you can get out Hand Nephthys, but you can also get out Magician of Faith, which is a great card because you can get a lot of powerful spell cards back. We don't really run any other flip monsters, and so you're not really prone to a Nobleman really aside from that. And even if you are, oh well, you could run more flip monsters if you're running into more Noblemans to kind of benefit off of Return from Different Dimension. Possible. But I feel like Faith, since it does synergize with Apprentice Magician, and Faith is just already good, you could run that. You could run like a Dekoichi or something, just if you want to run a different flip monster. This is the one I went with. For hand replenishment, we're going to run a Morphine Jar. I thought about Cyber Jar, but since there's so many monsters that can't really be summoned or don't really care for being summoned or don't get their effects off or whatever, Morphine Jar is pretty good because it at least refills your hand if you need to do stuff. Again, you can discard cards, so you can discard useless fire monsters, fill up that graveyard for possible Bazoo plays or Infernal Flame Emperor or what have you, different things you can try out. Next monster we're going to run is Sangan. Since Sangan he can search pretty much a lot of stuff out. He can search out your UFO Turtle, your Flame Ruler, Apprentice Magician, DD Warrior Lady, Hand of Nephthys. He can search things out, so it's always good to run him. And that rounds up our monsters. I like to have a nice and even 20. I don't know. I just like it like that. Do you like it like that? Yeah, I like it like that. Ooh, this deck's getting too hot. I gotta cool yourself down. Cool yourself down with a Torrential Tribute, which we're actually gonna run. If you do need to cool stuff down on the field, that's the way to do it. And works with Sacred Flame Nephthys, so you can bring Nephthys back. The only problem with Flame Emperor is that you can't bring him back once he's destroyed, which sucks. You could run 2 if you really wanted to, but I feel like that'd be like a bit too much. I don't know. Maybe if you really want to get him out, you might have to run 2. But starting with the other cards, of course, 2 upstarts. Some decks don't run Noblemen. Some decks like to side them in. And for me, the thing with this deck is that it deals with a lot of face-up monsters a lot easier than it does face-down. So you kind of need Noblemen to take care of those face-down monsters just in case if there's something like really weird like a Cyberjar or some troublesome monster that you don't want to deal with at all. So you could run Book of Moon in this deck, you could run a Tsukiyomi. I'm not, but what I am running is another great removal, Brain Control, running 3 of these. I thought about maybe running 2 and then 1 Soul Exchange, so you can take down face-down monsters, but Brain Control you can just do so much with, though. You can attack, you can tribute and attack that turn. There's a lot you can do, and again, this kind of is another reason for Nobleman, is that since you can't handle face-down monsters, you kind of have to work with that. But this is a great way to get monsters to your side of the field from your opponent for removal, for tributes, whether it's for Sacred Phoenix, Flame Emperor, Thessalos, what have you. So Brain Control is very powerful in this deck. What also is powerful is, of course, which cards I've already set down here, the staple cards I like to say. You could possibly cut out Premature Burial, but I still think it has utility in case you do need to bring stuff back from the graveyard specifically. So I do think it still has utility to be used in the game, because sure, you don't have to bring back everything from the graveyard, but I think just having that one option, since we are not playing Call of the Haunted, I think it's still pretty useful. And the last 2 cards is Ring of Destruction, and of course with the fire it fits in the deck. Burn is good, and Mirror Force, because Mirror Force is pretty broken as it is, because you can just destroy all your monsters, all your opponent's monsters, and that's pretty neat. So this is my Flame Return deck, Pyro Return, Infernal Flame Emperor, Pyro Beatdown, Flame deck, spicy, hot deck, spicy Flaming Hot Cheetos deck. Yeah, this is a Flaming Hot Cheetos deck, and you better remember it. Yeah, so yeah, this is my deck. I like it. I like the ratio. I think I found something I like. Obviously, things can be adjusted and changed, which I hope you let me know, in which I'll update this on my Patreon for all my patrons to see, to change whatever ratios of cards you feel like. I like this deck because it's not just pure fire. I'm not running just cards that, for the most part, suck, like a Thing in the Crater or Inferno. Even though they do have utilities if you go a different route with different kind of fire deck. But I wanted to make one that was pretty decent, that at least ran this card right here, Infernal Flame Emperor. The thing with fire decks is that you could replace a lot of these cards with kind of better cards, but I think the strategy of having the cards that do have utility, using like the tribute mechanic and the banishing mechanic, I think works out. Plus the fact that you can destroy spell and trap cards on the field, which will protect cards like Sacred Phoenix, which can continue to come back even if your opponent somehow destroys it. And if they banish it, well, you can bring it back in other ways to continue the fun. You just gotta worry out for Blackluster Soldier, but I mean, hey, Brain Control does a lot more than just tributing your opponent's monsters. So again, let me know what you think about this deck. Is it hot, spicy? Is it good enough for you? Let me know what you would change, and let me know what kind of GOAT format deck you'd like to see next week. And if you want one for sure to be on this channel, then you can go to my Patreon for further information. So until I see you all next time, have a wonderful day.